everyone, this is Diane. I am ready to show you just one of the back to school books. I worked on and completed the large one because it's different from the small ones. It involves different techniques and materials and things. So this one is a really fun one, and it has lots of big pockets and big cards, and it would be great to include your school ephemera or your child's school ephemera, like photos and yearbooks. I'm sorry, I saw a piece of hair dangling. It must have been hanging off my tripod. So yeah, there's a lot of space in here. This book measures 8 1/4 by 11 1/4 with a 2-inch spine, and there are 132 pages if you count front and back. And I tied it with this fabric sash that I made, and it's this red fabric. It looks like chalk drawings on red, and then the green and white polka dot. You can untie it or you can just slide it off. You can see I added some vintage trims to the front. Some fringe here and some braid. Some vintage grosgrain ribbon here and a tiny vintage red rickrack. And the back has the same picture as the front. And I added some fabric to the spine in 3 different colors of the wax thread to sew the 3 signatures in. And then more wax thread to hold some charms on the side. So this is from a children's game. So this little girl could be running on the playground at recess or running to school. It was a match game. And we have buttons and beads, a little vintage letter game piece, a keychain, and a letter from a child's beading set, I guess. I just had this one letter. So lots of fun there. Let's look at the pages. Oh, by the way, you get a packet of goodies. You get some scraps of the plaid scrapbook papers that I used, a worksheet, a full page, and a full Dick and Jane workbook sheet. You could cut these little squares up and decorate with them. And a page from an antique math book. This was from the cover page of a writing pad, and I trimmed it, and I was going to make a journal tag or pocket with it, and I didn't do that, so I'm just putting it in there. You can use that if you want to for anything. And this was from a 1965 Women's Day magazine. It was either an article or a story, but it has a school bus stop, and there's a school back there. So I just stuck it in here. I just cut that magazine up last night and thought I would just include it in your packet. And this is a collection of vintage flashcards. And that one's not so vintage, and this one's not so vintage. It's not vintage at all. This is a sign language card. Oh, 2 more. A library card and a digital from KB and Friends, that one too. And then these 2 vintage tickets for the Tillamook County School District number 9. School milk, 3 cents. So this is made with Better Homes and Gardens Creative Cake Decorating, and I love that they put a school bus cake on the front. It has Oreo wheels and a sugar wafer front fender or front bumper and candies, wintergreen highlights, wintergreen lifesavers. Looks like the windows are sticks of little pieces of chewing gum that they cut. It used to come in the sticks. I don't know if you get sticks anymore. And licorice windshield wipers. You can see here, this was the page inside the book where it showed the construction and all the, oh, those are Tootsie Rolls right here. All the little pieces are laid out, ready to go. I thought that was really fun, so I took that out of the book block and glued it to the end paper on the front. So we have plaid papers that I used for the scrapbook paper pages throughout the journal. And I put some fabric ruffles here, and I used several different digital collections from KB and Friends with a school theme. So I will link the shop, and you can just go to the shop and search school, and it'll bring up all of the school sets that they have there. And that KB and Friends is just full of retro images that are really fun. So here's another plaid piece of paper with "This book is the property of," and I made a copy of this from a vintage school book. Got some buttons here that I die cut, and this image from a very old school book. Inside the pocket, the tuck spot, I have this workbook page with the children walking to school, and there's the school building. And a vintage flashcard with these little fabric squares, rickrack, and this image cut from a reader. This is a Tim Holtz stamp, and then this is a construction paper arrow that was cut out, and it was included in a collection of paper, vintage paper that I got somewhere. So it's vintage, I don't know how old. And it has something written in pencil there. I don't know what it says. It's hard to read it. I used some strips of the cut-off papers throughout the book just to decorate some of the blank pages. And I cut that with my Big Shot. There's another workbook page. Oh, this paper is from a composition style book, and it has the learning to do penmanship with the different colored lines. And it was so the children could write what they were supposed to write, copy what they were writing, and then make a picture on this blank spot up here. So that was fun. I have this orange lined paper, and this came out of a really old children's book. This is a little calendar from a desk calendar. I got a collection of these calendars from a flea market, and I took the September pages out of several of them so I could put them in each of these journals that I'm making. This person that had these calendars put a green pen mark through the numbers as each day passed. And these are both from KB and Friends. Here is a music book with illustrated children's music book. This is Round the Village, and there's a schoolhouse there, I think. I'm saying it's a schoolhouse anyway. This page has two nice big pockets. And this one is a girl from the McCall's Make It book. I just glued her to some blue cardstock. Made a double pocket. And this is a strip from the Dick and Jane workbook. And I put lined paper on the back. And another old flashcard. I got a collection of these flashcards at an antique store, and they were in pretty bad shape. This one's not too bad. It's a little bit worn and a little bit stained. But I added this image to it and added the rickrack and the vintage yo-yo and the vintage button with the old thread still in it. And KB and Friends, Let's Tell Time flashcard or digital card in there. Tim Holtz stamp again. And here we have a page from a 1950 calendar. I love this page. And I had an alphabet book, so I put one page in each signature. And then we have some workbooks here that I add anything to them. You can collage on them. You could glue a piece of paper to write on, glue photographs there. Whatever you want to do, you can have fun with it. And lined colored paper. This is from an arithmetic book. This is a label from canned tomatoes. I thought if you were buying your hot lunch from school, those lunch ladies probably used a lot of canned tomatoes. Probably bigger cans than this, though. This is graph paper that came out of another composition notebook. This children's book page is one of those plasticized pages. It's pretty old, and my intention was to make this into an envelope, to glue this closed after it was sewn together. But I did not want to hide these images, so if you want to glue them, you can glue them. But I left it open, and you can look at all of the sides. There's the tomatoes, part of the math book page. And I stamped with Creative Expression stamps, these crayons. And this is a fun element. I got this from a flea market quite a few years ago. And I don't use them very much because they're so long. I did even have to trim off part of it to fit it onto this page. But it's a lunch bag. I have this one with the Trix Bunny, the cereal, and then a Lucky Charms leprechaun is on other bags. But, you know, his slogan was, well, he didn't say it, but somebody said it to him, "Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids." So he says lunch is for kids, and this kid's lunch belongs to, and then there's a spot here for the name. I made this tag to go in it with some of the pattern cardstock, the plaid, and I collaged on it. This is from a children's reader. These two girls discovered that they wore the same dress to school after they hung their coats up in the coat room. And I put this metal-rimmed tag on it that says, I stamped on it, "Enjoy today" and "Happy." That's a fun tag. So you can fill this bag. It's got a gusset. So you can fill this bag with whatever you want to stick in it. I added a library pocket here with some collage. There's a library card. And this is a vintage unexcused absence card from my local high school. And a digital. This is a phonics card, I believe. It's teaching children how to pronounce letters, words, whatever. This just particular one was just the combination of CH and how to pronounce that. And so there's a story about this weird looking picture right here. And I'm not going to read it to you because I read it in a different video, but it's interesting to read that. It's very strange. And I just clipped it here because I didn't want to hide that description. This is a flash card or a digital card from KB and Friends. Just looks like it's a page from a children's reader. Some more Tim Holtz stamps. And another pocket. I sewed scrapbook paper together to make my pages big enough. This is from the McCall's Make It book too, and I did a fancy stitch in that blank space there. It's got vintage rickrack. This is from a 1940s magazine, and this is an actress called Margaret O'Brien. She was a child actor in the 40s or maybe 50s. I think it was 40s. But she's modeling school clothes in this article. And I added this bit of vintage patchwork and kind of a scrapbook paper, but it's ledger paper for journaling on the back. I mean, it was a scrapbook paper that was printed to look like ledger paper. This is a workbook page for helping children learn how to make the letters, and it's white on the back, so lots of writing space. Second signature has more of the plaid paper and a ruffle, and I'm using the vocabulary or the flashcards from KB and Friends at the top page of each signature. This is from a school book. Looks like the teacher is, maybe the kids have just gotten out of school or they're on recess, and maybe that's the mom who collected her boy to take him home. At first I thought it was a teacher, but I'm thinking she's got her purse. I think she's taking him home. School's out. Here's a teacher who is sitting in the circle of children and reading a story to them. I loved story time in school. I remember my teacher reading Charlotte's Web, and I also remember a book that I absolutely loved. It was called The Boxcar Children, and I remember these orphan children found a train boxcar to live in, and then they went to the dump and they found dishes, and some of them were chipped, and all kinds of things that they could use to set up housekeeping, and that was my favorite part. That's the only part I remember, was that they were setting up housekeeping. And looking back on that, it just shows that I had a domestic heart way back then. I forgot to put these back in. This is a vintage flashcard that I had decorated, and this was in my stash of ready-made ephemera. So I put that in there. It's a nice tall one, and I need tall books to use those tall cards. And then this is from the Dick and Jane workbook, and I made some tabs by gluing a small arithmetic page to cardstock and then punching the tab. And this is another scrapbook paper printed like a ledger paper. It's an old Prima one. Another workbook page. This page, orange paper with lines on it. This is a vintage envelope, and I put a couple of the flashcards in there, the digital flashcards. And there's a yearbook page in here, 9th grade class officers, and this is the title page of the yearbook, or one of the chapter pages, chapter titles. This is from the front of one of my Dick and Jane workbooks. I got a set of, I think, 4 of these on eBay. And this was on the cover of one of them. And Jane was on it too. But I cut out Dick and Sally and Tim, and he's measuring her on the wall and marking it with chalk. But she cheated and put Tim up there. And here she is again in this little story picture story. She's watching a cowboy movie or TV show. So you can cut those out and do things with them. Just leave it the way it is so you have something cute to look at. And this is a vintage flashcard. It came in the set with that other one I showed you. I forgot what was on it. This one. Oh, it's just a W. Came in the same set, and it's South America. It has Peru. These are from an arithmetic book. This is a vintage calendar, and I put this little picture in. This is from an Alice and Jerry book. She's pretending to be an airplane. There's an airplane in the sky. And I think she's pretending to row a boat, looking at the river there. And there's a boat on the river. So do what you like with that picture. Here's another page from a alphabet book. This is from a notebook that I got just the other day at the Barnes flea market. It's a notebook, but it is printed with questions, and I think it was literature and poetry school book. This says poetical qualities, 3 lines or passages worth remembering, 2 other poems by the same author, date of reading. And there's a little asterisk here. It says musical. What musical effect is produced when the poem is read aloud? So they must have discussed that. Did it have a marching rhythm? I just had another word in my head, a lilting rhythm, you know, how did it sound? How did it flow? I'm sure was that sort of question. I thought that was really interesting. And here is where someone wrote about the author. It's biography. This is a picture from the little golden book, We Love Kindergarten, or We Like Kindergarten. And I put a little Dick and Jane note card in it. I picked up a set of these note cards at an estate sale a few years ago. There's a planner page, and this is from a larger reader book called Linda and Lee Go to School, or Linda and Lee something. I just remember the names, Linda and Lee. Here is the label that's in this signature, and it's a crate label, a fruit crate. And it was folded a little bit wonky, but I didn't refold it because it's on the fragile side, and I didn't want to risk tearing by making new folds. So I just glued it in. So it's a little wonky. Here's another one of those treated pages. Here is the calendar page. It's from 1947, September page. And here is one of the pages that would come out of a book that parents could collect their children's school photos and all the information about the child for that year, and then the child's signature, so you could see how their handwriting changed from year to year. And this one is grades 3, and on the back it says grade 4. And it's a picture from Dick and Jane workbook. There's a little picture cut out from an old school book. And so is that. And this, multiplication. And this is from a miniature version of the McCall's Make It book. It has the same picture of the girl that we saw earlier. I loved this, and I wanted to stick that in here. Here's the back side of the yearbook. So that was the title page for the junior high section. This is a pocket I made with my Big Shot and a die, and that's a digital. This tag was in my stash. So I had a collection of these 1931 school days photographs, and I made a digital out of them for myself. So I printed this. I made this tag a long time ago, but since it's a school picture, I thought this tag was appropriate to stick in this book. I put a paper clip here just because this has a folded over part and it makes it a looser pocket, and this would slide around and fall out. So I put a paper clip there to hold it in. There's another of those old flashcards. You can see it's stained. A stamped notebook page, an image from a school book, and a digital flashcard. This is a large phonics card, and I was glad I had a large book to use it in. Just barely fit on here. And this is taken from a math book, Dick and Jane workbook. And I got this at a thrift store, but I don't think it's very old. And the last signature, we have another image from We Like Kindergarten. And another Dick and Jane strip with lined paper on the back. This is a 1966 commencement program. And I put this library card on the back, so you do have a space to journal, and a large journaling card. This is a digital, and these are from the Dick and Jane workbook. The teacher wrote a B with crayon or colored pencil here, so I cut around that so I wouldn't cut the B off. She got a B because on the page there was one that she did wrong. So on this one, they were supposed to underline the one that was different, as this one is underlined and this one is underlined. But one of the sections had an incorrect answer. Another vintage envelope and digital flashcards. This is also from the McCall's Make It book, and we have another strip of the Dick and Jane workbook. And a tag that I made with cardstock and a lined orange paper. This is from a very old math book. And I did a little bit of weaving, just a little bit right in this corner for those little strips. There's a digital card, my favorites. That's always a fun kind of a prompt card to fill out. And then I tucked in these flashcards. I don't know if they're from the dollar store or what. I bought them from my friend Leslie, who sells fun things in her shop, Vintage Paper Emporium. And you put the 3 cards together. You have to try to collect the 3 cards that spell the word. So I put bus in here with a picture of a school bus. An image from a children's almanac. And there's the 3rd and final September calendar page. It's a farm. There's a pond and some cows. I used different shades of colored lined paper throughout the book. This is from a can of corn. This is actually from a teacher's planner, a big planner book that I got at a thrift store. This is the cover of that children's alphabet book, the one that's like treated paper. And it's pretty tattered because it was the cover. But I glued it in just as it is, even with that little black mark on it. And like I said, you can glue that together to make it a pocket if you want to. Here's the corn. This calendar page is from 1956. And this was provided by Harnish's Meat Market, Lancaster. That's the negative from punching out stars. Another children's piano book page. And this is from a children's school book. And there's a report card in here from 1954. And then I just took 2 tags and glued these little cutouts from scrapbook paper and put some seam binding in them. Give you a couple tags. This is just a plain flashcard. I didn't do anything to it. I just clipped it in. And this was from a children's picture book. It's a chalkboard. Someone was playing tic-tac-toe. I glued it to paper that you can write on. And I stamped some letters down the side of that. And I love this pocket with the rickrack. I was going to sew some buttons on it. I did mention that when I made this on a video. But I decided not to have the buttons on something you couldn't remove. But we have vintage math paper and then this image from a children's reader. Another workbook page. This was teaching children how to read and understand current events like newspapers and things. It would be fun to maybe fill that out with today's current events if you wanted to. I remember doing that in civics class in junior high. And this illustration is from We Like Kindergarten, and I stamped those numbers and cut them out. Stamped that, and these little lines I cut off of couple of those stamps and glued them together to make a little flashcard. The back pocket is a piece of green cardstock, and I stamped a notebook stamp that I have and added this little piece of fabric that I have with the schoolhouse and apples and crayons. I just had a small piece, and there might be an even smaller piece left, but that was in a bundle that I got in a journal kit from Selena. I bought that from her, and a little, again, scrapbook paper number. Here's another report card that comes in an envelope. It was mailed. I do remember bringing our report cards home during the school year, but I think that the final one was mailed to us. And this is dated 1961. This is from the Diocese of Rochester Elementary Schools. I paid $1.25 for this report card. And then I made this final card with a school book and an image from a reader. And this is a ticket from the same school as these. This is school milk, 3 cents. This says school lunch, 30 cents. And my signature is on the back. So what a fun book this is for recording school memories, or just to use as your everyday journal or glue book because you like the school theme. Whatever, I hope that someone is interested in a large book. I'm going to be careful with the price point. I don't even know what I'm going to charge yet, but I know that this is a heavy book, and it will cost something to mail it. Postage is so expensive these days anyway. So I will be cautious in pricing it so that someone will not find it too expensive with the shipping. And it comes with this. Now let me show you quickly before we say goodbye the other school books that I am working on. All I have done on these is the covers, which I'll probably add some embellishment to them too. I have the covers, and I've got the pages cut and put together in signatures, and I did make some ephemera in previous videos, but I haven't really done any work within the pages on these. I have 2 vintage sewing patterns that I put onto chipboard, and this very old Dick and Jane book with very tattered corners, and it's from the 1940s. And it's very cute, and I just love the little size. We go from this little size to this big size. And these are normal. They're like 6 by 9, which is pretty typical. So lots of fun here. So come on back. Oh, by the way, did I say this is in my shop when the video is live? I hope I said that. I'll put that in the listing anyway. And I hope you'll come back and follow me as I complete these journals. Thank you so much for your attention today. I appreciate all of your comments that you leave. I love reading the comments, and if I don't respond that day, I do respond. Things have been very hectic with my move and since the move, and there's just so much going on this summer, so I do respond, but maybe not the very same day. But I do read, and I do just really love reading your response, your comments and responding to your comments. So please do that and at least give me a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video. Have a creative day. Bye.